We need the zoom in shot so I can give him the evil eye.
I do need that zoom. I do need the. Ooh.
What?
I don't like that.
Why not?
I don't know about that one. Oh.
The crazy people stare?
The crazy people stare? Or
I usually do that when I have like my homeless hair on.
Your homeless hair. Interesting. Hey, Ghost Hunter.
It's like my bedhead stance. It's like when I wake up in the morning.
I like that for you.
I don't. Nobody likes that for me.
Hey, welcome in everybody. Valley Val.
It's the old
Rattlekin,
man stare.
T. Schmid. Welcome in everybody.
This head's not as serious because my hair is kind of short, so I have a little bit of fuzz going on. But I mean, that's almost presentable.
That's more like like dirty GQ hair rather than like you're messy.
I could do Abercrombie and Fitch ads.
Yeah, you could. I'd watch.
If I'd lose 30 years and 50 pounds.
Amen, brother. Wow. If that didn't get you into chat.
Ahoy, mateys. Thumb palette enthusiast. I love it. Wait a minute. Thumb palette enthusiast.
Wait.
That Mike?
Mike? Wait a minute.
I always blame people for being Mike if they have names like that. I'm like, wait a minute. Is that Mike?
Speaking of Michael Holtz. Hi, Michael Holtz. We call that the stank eye in the service.
It is also that, yes. It is also the stank eye. Paint Sanguineous like one of your French sororitas.
Today's title of the stream is Tuesday Afternoon with Sandwhich-ius.
Thumb palette. We have a viewer named Mike who's always changing his name, and because we just released like our thumb palette video, that would be something Mike would do. But great name.
Hey, welcome in. We're happy to have you, Thumb Palette Enthusiast.
Rattlecan says, you have a paint request. Can I paint the Road Girl model? Jen did. Jen painted the Road Girl bust, so I don't really like that model much, so probably not. It's not one that speaks to me. Doesn't mean never.
Speaks to you.
I'm just not a big fan of that model.
It's all right. Hey, you got to be a fan.
I really do. I need the model to feel like something I want to paint. That's my big whole deal. That's my big whole deal. That's a lot of words to say nothing is really what that is. That's my big whole deal.
You just sounded like Christopher right there.
That was a Christopherism.
That's a whole big deal. Here's the deal, right?
It's a big whole deal.
Big whole
This is my big whole deal.
Have you tried Majora's Mask yet? To Wad. Wad,
nope.
Welcome in. Hey, Wad, welcome in. Big whole deal. That's right. Oh.
Non-Guineous.
Non-Guineous.
Like non-bread. Right. The big whole deal.
We don't.
I think, that's one that, depending on your spelling, has various meanings.
We don't.
Let me tell you about the big whole deal. Or the big whole deal.
It's the punctuation shirts. Have you seen those? Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a difference
let's
between
eat kids.
Helping your Uncle Jack off a horse or...
Yeah. Let's eat kids.
Hey, Uncle Jack. You need some help off that horse?
Oh, man.
That's my favorite one. And I have seen that t-shirt.
Yep.
Punctuation is necessary, kids.
That's right. Rattlecan. You get that, no worries. Rattlecan. Be fresh, welcome in.
Welcome, everybody. Oh, we did not open with our proper therapy inclusion.
Between now and the next time we meet, I want you to start a journal.
A journal, folks.
It's actually a great idea.
Journal is an important part of every day.
Do you journal?
No, not at all.
No, you don't write down. Well, you write down notes.
I write all sorts of crap during the course of the day. Most of it's inane nonsense.
You don't journal.
I don't journal in the term of this is kind of my journal. I journal every day. It gets captured here as I talk to chat. Some days I journal about how to be a better painter, and some days I journal about mental health. And some days I blabber fart jokes. So I guess if that's called journaling, that counts.
This is your journal.
None of the stuff I write is technically a journal because I write like insane ideas I have for products and stuff like that, which while being fun does not speak to the state of the world around me at any given time. That's not. I used to. I tried to write a journal once.
Well, this is kind of like your journal, right? What is your journal, chat? Go for it, painting.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully everybody's week is off to a great start. It is Dose Day.
It's Tuesday. Tuesday's the new Wednesday, everybody.
Tuesday is not the new Wednesday. Wednesday is the new Wednesday.
No, Monday's the new Wednesday.
Monday is Wednesday. What's Monday?
Just
We had a very Monday-ish Monday yesterday.
We did.
So...
We did?
Did I tell everybody on stream that before I even got to the office, my messages lit up in our company messenger about how Monday was a literal dumpster fire?
Another one.
For those of you that have been here long enough,
what the heck?
We had another vagrant light our dumpster at our production facility, which is 5 miles from here, on fire.
Wait, the production and back there?
And back there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, on the same weekend.
The world is trying to take us down, chat.
On 2 separate occasions, 2 different individuals lit fires behind our building here on that same night, from midnight to like 2 a.m. Right?
That's crazy.
So next Monday, we have a security fence company coming to build a security fence around the back of our building here. So
how far does that
thanks
go
to
back?
the wonderful city of Phoenix not doing anything about our problems, we have to spend money to build fences.
How far back?
14 and a half feet away from the building.
That's kind of cool.
We can park the truck back there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what?
Keeping warm. They were trying to. GW is getting bold with our competition. Is really getting bold with attacking our building.
Yeah.
Right? Nick Pie, what's going on?
What color workup would you use for sandbags? Great segue. I don't know why that was a great segue.
It's not a really great segue. It's just a question that deserves an answer.
It was a painting segue. One might say it was a sanguineous way.
Sandbags, in my traditional sense, I think that they're kind of like parchment colored in terms of being like a woven, almost white, dirty bag, right?
Are you thinking military sandbags?
Yeah, like military sandbags, yeah. Right?
Uh-huh.
So, you know, but they can be whatever color you want because just a sack with sand in it. So what do you want? But like if you're talking about like a big, like, you know, potato sack kind of a thing, then browns always come to mind. So I typically would start with like dark umber, light umber, olive flesh and do it like I would do parchment. And you're probably fine there. Probably that easy, right? Then you can weather them as you need. Your sandbags are usually green. I guess you could do them green.
Oh, like, okay. Military.
I think of them more
green?
like potato sack, right? Corporate sabotage, says Sapo. Yeah, that's what we think.
Mo, welcome in. Sandbag-ius. There you go.
Sandbag-winius.
That's what I was looking for earlier.
Sandbags are usually hot pink if you're Punisher.
Oh.
Panic Bomb says, I like a nice tan for sandbags.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think that works, right?
A nice tan.
The dark umber, light umber, olive flesh. You can mix the olive flesh with the light umber to get various levels of tan in there. Beige. Happy 311. What's 311?
What's 311?
Or painting something amber colored today? No.
Oh. I understand.
What does that mean?
311 the band.
What does amber have to do with it?
It's one of their songs.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know them.
Can't go wrong with hot pink plaid.
It's the color of your energy.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Punisher. You get 1 point for that.
Oh, you people.
Amber is the color of your energy. Well, Jason, it's
Chris?
311. What are you going to do? It's 311. Where are your kids?
Where are your kids, Christopher?
Well, that's a great question.
Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you.
I don't have any kids.
What?
I don't.
Seriously?
Or do I? Who
What?
knows? Who knows?
Chris has all the children.
I have 11-5.
11-5 children.
That's right. A beautiful disaster.
That's a lot, dude.
11-5?
11-5 is a lot of kids.
That's more than 4.
11-5 is a lot of kids, Christopher.
It's more than 4, less than 5.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it.
I did not mean to press that button. I really didn't.
Oh.
Jason, what are you doing on this model today?
I don't know.
We run a tight ship here, chat. This is the painting ship today.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
How about the demon skull?
No, I'm working on the gold armor again. We're back to gold armor.
Back to gold armor.
It's that time. I got enough color on everything else. Now I'm like back to gold armor. But I forgot to do like this side of the arm. What I need to be doing today is some airbrush work, believe it or not.
Oh.
On a lot of this. So I'm going to go in and start by getting this side of the arm that I left alone for some reason. I don't really know what happened back here, chat. Did somebody like...
You let that one go.
Like, what happened?
You did it on purpose. Wait, Nicholas, hope the crew will get to enjoy some pie on Friday. Oh. Why?
3/14. Pie day.
Oh my gosh. It's pie day. We won't. We don't eat pie around here.
We definitely eat pie around here.
We're not pie people.
We are definitely pie people, but we are more cake people, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Well, if your name is Nick Pie, you want everybody to be a pie person.
This is true.
Right? And then when you come around people that are more cake people, it's always a little bit difficult, right? Because you have to go through that process of thinking, okay, do these people accept me for being a pie person? Or are they talking mad crap?
Huh. Lariat, 61 months.
Thank you.
Hey, that's just great. We appreciate those subs. We'll eat some pie for you.
Chris is like, that's just great.
I do. I really appreciate the subs. And I always want to make sure I give you the proper call out.
I didn't do it.
What do you want, Shannon?
We literally ate pie on street pie day.
We did.
Shannon?
Yes.
Get back to work.
Yes. And I wiped some pie on my pants because it got all on my hands.
As
I'm
it
being
should.
attacked.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not being attacked.
How do you...
We are more than cake people. I'm just saying.
No, we are cake people, Shannon.
No,
It took
we're
you...
also pie people.
It took you that...
Shannon, come over here.
Uh-oh. Now you're going to be put on the spot.
What?
This is Shannon, the
I
bringer
don't know
of doom.
Shannon is a cake person.
It's
She just
right
doesn't
here.
like to admit it.
I love pie. Pie. I was pointing a lot, and I'm not sure.
This is Gabe's mom, for all of you who don't know, and Shelby's mom. And now Jesse's mom. Oh my gosh, chat.
Goodbye.
All of your offspring work here.
We're being invaded.
Everybody except the guy with my name
Yeah.
works here. Everybody in your immediate family except for the guy with my name works at Monument Hobbies. So.
Wow.
And we love it.
And it's Fisher Family Hobbies.
I know.
We're gonna do like an April Fool's changeover. We're gonna be Monument is now Fisher Family Hobbies.
Fisher Family Hobbies.
That was Shannon, everybody. Hope you can handle that type of energy because we get it all day long.
Never heard of
I walked into Shannon this morning. I said, Shannon, make me laugh. And she did.
Yeah, there was a third Fisher. Yes, Wad. Jesse is now working at Monument Hobbies.
Yep. It happened. I'm responsible for that one.
You are.
That was my own dang fault. So Gabe's younger brother is a chemical engineer who now works for us, doing some really amazing things, some cool things that I've always wanted to do, but we have surpassed my chemical engineering knowledge. And so he's a chemical engineer.
Yep.
And so we extended him an offer to come work for us. He was looking for a job.
And we're starting in big oil, chat.
Yeah. So
Monument
now
Hobbies,
Monument Oil is next.
We've decided to get into the gasoline business.
So we'll be
sorry.
going up against Exxon.
Sorry, Jason was trying to have a serious moment, and excuse me, pardon me. Sorry. Continue, Jason.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, Jesse works here now. There we go. That's all she wrote. Have you seen the new Muppets movie with Jason Segel? Jason?
With who?
Jason Segel. The new Muppet movie.
In a Muppet movie?
The newer one.
No.
Right?
No.
The whole thing is like the villain is trying to tear down something. I forget. He's like, there's oil under this studio, or the old Muppet studio. It's so funny. There's oil under this studio. Oh my.
Chris is easily amused.
I am.
For those of you that might not be familiar.
I am a huge fan of the Muppets. If y'all didn't know.
He wanted to be a puppeteer.
Way back in the day. When I had hopes and dreams.
And now?
And now I've squashed them.
You got me. That's what you got. You got me, Chris.
No, not at all.
You got me, Chris.
I was a young child. And I'm like, you know what? I'm my own puppet. And now we're here at Monument. Yeah, there it is. He heard me, right? You heard me, chat. I'll accept that award now.
What the?
Sorry, I've lost it. This is it.
What the Tuesday is going on here?
What
the holy Tuesday is happening around here, chat?
Christopher's brain has lost it. Little
what
Billy, Jason, you're nothing
Tuesday
to complain
is
about
going
having.
on around here, chat?
Mo loves the Muppets. Mo's magic. The one and only. Jason, you're not to complain about having, says Little Billy. Now, Chris, that's something to complain about having. Little Billy. I'm going to hunt you down.
Agreed, Little Billy.
That's right. Hey, if you're just now joining in, welcome. Where have you been? That's my first question to you. Second of all, this is Jason, for all of you who don't know.
Hi, that's me.
This is Monument Hobbies. We are Monument Hobbies. This is Monument Hobbies.
It's a me.
Hey, Paisano.
It's a me.
I didn't hear what Chris said. I just joined the stream. Where have I been? What have I been doing with my life? Said Game Delay. Yes. What have you been doing?
What have you been doing with it? Well, don't tell us. This is a kid show.
That's for the Discord.
Very family-friendly show.
This is I would consider this a rated PG-13 show.
Hey, I try very hard to keep this family-friendly. I mess up occasionally,
sometimes
but not very
often. Sometimes it gets TVY7. But, you know. TK421, do you copy? Welcome in. Yo, yo, yo. Papa Chicken says, we have watched the Muppet Christmas Carol so much that we saw a Christmas Carol diorama. The whole family was confused, and the greatest humans were not frogs. Yeah, see, the Muppets, hear me out.
Oh,
Jim
God.
Henson was great.
Anytime it ends with "hear me out" or begins with "hear me out," it's like
Philip
what?
says it's PG-13. When can I drop my one allotted F-bomb? Never. You heard me. Wad. That's inappropriate. You're banned. You
minus 5 million Chris points. 5 million Chris points, Wad.
Man. Oh. Anyway, back to the Muppets.
Oh, God.
Muppets are great.
Anyway, back to the Muppets.
That's the name of my autobiography, by the way.
That's actually funny.
It's hilarious.
Anyway, back to the Muppets.
Right. Who's your favorite Muppet, Jason?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's gotta be the guy who plays, I think he plays bass in the band that Animal plays drums for. He's like straight out of Leonard Skinner.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I know.
He's a red mustache.
Oh, what's that guy's name? Let me see. Not Mr. Dr. Teeth is the main dude. Muppet Mayhem, I think is what it's called. Mayhem. Yeah. Band member name. Floyd Pepper is his name.
Floyd sounds about right.
Floyd.
One could only hope that his name is Floyd.
Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem. Anyway.
I like Floyd. I like Beaker.
I think that's what his name is. Oh, Beaker's great. Yep. Sergeant Floyd Pepper is the group's bassist.
That's them.
He's hilarious. Wow. To be young again. Sandler and Waldorf, yes, they are hilarious.
Also great.
They're very good. You can put them in anything, and everybody will know who they are and what they are.
Fozzie Bear is no slouch.
Yep.
All the Muppets are fantastic.
Right. All great.
They're all great.
They're all just great.
They're all just great. They're more than great.
Speaking
They're more than
of-
just great.
Speaking
Chris.
of great,
Oh god.
welcome in, chat. I'm just gonna keep welcoming you as I see our numbers are growing, as our viewers grow. Want to make sure everybody feels welcome, and just hang out, watch Jason paint, ask questions. Hey, if you got a question, make sure you tag us so that I see it, so that I can pitch it to him. Papa Chicken was watching some old school Looney Tunes with my daughter the other day. There are a few tropes. Yes. The Looney Tunes, old school Looney Tunes, man. They're crazy.
They are something.
Yeah.
It's really, really funny to watch them as an adult.
Yep.
With a discerning eye.
It'd be like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
That's what that actually means. The stuff they got away for, they're like, we know mom and dad are watching this. Sandwich-ius is looking pretty good.
Well, trying to go back and get a little bit of gold color on some of these things I missed. Like I didn't do the little do-danglies on the leather strips here.
The old do-danglies. Chewy painting. Rating with a party of 14. Welcome in, Raiders.
Also, look, there's some cloth there that should be red.
We appreciate that raid. Thank you so much.
Rip me.
Wait, what's that?
There's some cloth that needed to be red here, but I'm gonna avoid that because I'm gonna go back with the airbrush, and I'm probably gonna get some overspray on stuff, so I'll have to repaint some things. So I'm gonna smooth out all the gold with the airbrush.
Chewy says, "Wow, looking fantastic."
It's coming along.
It is.
It's coming along. Everything's really rough, but I'm starting to get some cool color in places that I like, and like I said, I'm getting things prepped right now to be able to go back with the airbrush. And kind of work on finishing out the gold areas.
Game delay. We appreciate that raid. Chewy.
Thank you. Welcome, Raiders. How's the stream?
Hopefully it was amazing. Chewy says, looking fantastic. Impressive hues. Really like it.
Thank you. Yeah, Chris made me start with the wings. So we
did.
Spent some time doing the iridescent part or the pearlescent part of the wings, if you will. And then we'll go back as we dial in the metallic on the gold to brighten the wings up and get them more of a white. But right now it shows you kind of my underpainted colors with the greens and the dark hot pinks and the turquoises and purples and stuff. And then we went over that with transparent white. So the wings are looking pretty good. And then I'm just doing some heavy sketching on my non-metallic gold for the armor before we go back in and mess around with it with the airbrush to smooth out our blends and such. There's still a lot of work to do, but having fun.
Game delay says you can't have do-dangles on this stream. It's a family-friendly stream.
Well,
okay. D-fresh, but what about the dangly doos and deets?
Deets and dangly doos.
That's a great band name for Mod
Deet and the dangly doos.
Deet and the dangly doos. There it is, chat. I gotta clean the studio up, Jason.
It's a mess, dude.
It's a mess.
I walked in. I'm like, what is going on here, Christopher?
You can see my brain.
What is going on here?
Making stuff.
I don't understand what's going on here, Christopher.
It looks really clean over here.
But over there is a disaster.
I know. I've got I've got cameras, I've got things, I've got product, I've got pictures, I've got all of
It's become
things.
Chris's lair back here.
It is kind of nice.
It is kind of nuts.
Right. Knows what I can do back here. All the
That
magic
worries
things.
me.
Why does it worry you?
That worries me. I've seen Mindhunter.
I've never seen Mindhunter.
Well, you should watch it.
What's Mindhunter?
It's a thing about serial killers.
What? Did you just call me a serial killer?
I'm just saying I've seen Mindhunter. Is all I said.
I would never kill.
All I said is I've seen Mindhunter.
You do the math, chat.
I don't know why you're getting so upset.
Philip says, love Mindhunter, highly recommended. You're banned, Philip. I banned you.
It's a great show. It's too bad the guy will never finish it.
Chris is a serial killer. I do kill cereal. So, in that way, I am a serial killer.
Favorite cereal, Chris?
The one with all the people.
Oh, God.
I'm kidding, baby. Hollywood. No. Oh, that's a deep question. What is cereal? You know? What really is it?
What do you mean, what is it? It's a delicious breakfast food.
No, I'm talking like in the, the metaphorical universe. Like, what is cereal,
I
What
just
is
told you.
cereal, chat. Didn't you hear me? I just told you what
it's
it
the
is.
right way to start your day, Christopher.
Now, what kind of cereal? We talking just so like, I consider cereal two different things. You got like the Special K's, you got like the super bland stuff, right? And then you've got the Cookie Crisp, the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Then you got the...
All of which are cereal, which I just asked what your favorite one was. So
How
come
about
up with
this?
an answer and stop dodging the question.
Whoa, okay.
You're allowed to like Special K. That's fine.
No, I like there is this was it like vanilla almond clusters from Trader Joe's?
Okay, yeah, I
With
know. They're like
berries?
honey bunches of oats.
Yeah, it's like that. Ooh, oh. I also do like the occasional Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
What about you, Jason?
I have rediscovered Cocoa Pebbles recently.
That's I just like that soundbite. I've rediscovered Cocoa Pebbles
recently.
Okay.
And
Not
so,
Fruity Pebbles.
Because I was at the
Cocoa
grocery
Pebbles.
store and Jen was like, I need you to get me cereal and I want these 3 cereals.
What
and
did
so
Jen
she
say?
showed me 3 cereal boxes that I'd never seen.
Okay.
One of them was like, it was like Honey Bunches of Oats with almonds or
Okay,
something like that. So I got that. And then there was another one that she wanted that was a Life cereal that
Okay.
I don't know,
really
Heart
wants-
Healthy Life. I don't remember what it is. So I got that one. It's kind of like a berry,
Okay.
I don't know. And I don't even remember what the other one was. And so here I am in the cereal aisle, knowing that we've run out of some of the other cereals we have. And so I looked around and I was like, well, what could I get? And I buy the cereal that's in like the 3-foot-long bag,
Heck
like the
yeah.
body pillow size cereals that are usually generic, right?
The body.
It's like you
The
get
body bag.
instead of Fruit Loops, you get Fruity Tooties or Tutti Fruities.
I don't get Cocoa Pebbles. I get Chocolate Rocks.
Right. Choco Rock.
Choco Rock.
Choco Rock.
Okay.
So anyway, but they had the real brands. It was like Fruit Loops and Cocoa Pebbles. And I was looking at it and I was like, the only reason I never bought it is because I never believed that the generic one would taste right. And I never had sweet cereals growing up because I lived in a household that didn't have a lot of money and everything that we bought was, to cook or something like that. So
Yeah.
the cereals that I had, I think my sisters who were younger than me had Kix.
Okay.
And I got Cheerios or Grape Nuts. And I like both of those. But as an older adult, you're like, I'm not going to eat what I had as a kid. I want to have what I should have had as a kid. I want to have some of those nasty kid
Yeah.
cereals.
Uh-huh.
So, so I picked up Cocoa Pebbles.
Barney Rubble, man.
I've only had one bowl of them so far.
And you got a whole like
Body pillow full of
got
it,
a full yard of that stuff to go
Yeah.
through.
I have a linear yard. Waifu O's.
Wow, that is
Cinnamon Life. I like
silly.
Original Life cereal. The only thing I don't like about Original Life cereal is that it gets too mushy. It's the same as like Rice Chex. I really love Rice Chex, but they get so mushy so fast in milk.
I love not Frosted Flakes.
Frosted Flakes I love.
Frosted Mini Wheats.
Frosted Mini Wheats are really good too.
All the
but
cereals.
they turn into like goo weird.
They do.
Like
You gotta eat it
berry
quick.
goo too, so it's kind of crazy.
Wow. The more you know.
Honey Bunches of Oats classic is your goat forever. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. You grew up eating grape nuts. That explains a lot. What? I did. Yeah, grape nuts are nice. They're like wheat berries, right? Isn't that what grape nuts is? It's like little rocks. Basically, it's like rock. It's like eating dirt out of the playground.
Grape nuts. Oh yeah.
It's literally like gravel. It's like eating a bowl full of gravel.
It looks like just like
my mom would sprinkle 1 teaspoon.
Looks like goat feed.
1 teaspoon of sugar on it. That would, because none of it soaked in, would immediately go to the bottom of the bowl. So the grape nuts tasted like dirt until you got to the bottom of the bowl, and the last like 10 spoonfuls of it, right? Were really good because the sugar that she put in there was all in the last like handful of cereal.
What are grape nuts? Like, what is this? It says I can lose 10 pounds if I eat 5 pounds of grape nuts. Wait a minute.
I think they're like wheat berries or something. It's
wow. This was a good conversation.
Bright pale yellow. Yeah, you learned how to lose 10 pounds.
I know.
All you gotta do is go pick up some grape nuts. I didn't see them at the store. I've always said, oh, you know what I really liked growing up and that my dad would get every now and then? It was called CW Post.
CW Post.
I don't know if it exists anymore.
I'm Googling
it was really good.
CW.
It was like a granola, like a boxed granola that was like sweetened with honey or something. It was good.
This is CW Post.
Oh, right. But he had a namesake cereal. It was called, there it is, CW Post.
Wow. All right.
Family style cereal with raisin. That was it. That's what I grew up on.
All right. CW Post, everybody.
I used to I would never try it at first because I was like, look at the box cover. It has like farm stuff on it. You know? I was like, Billy gets Fruit Loops.
I get CW
I get
Post.
CW Post. I get like ancient history, like old people cereal. My parents are so mean.
CW Post comes with a little CW Post. Oh no. Dusty Hobbies. Switch your cereal out for Proacryl paint and lose even more weight. False.
Well, yes.
Well,
considering you'll be deteriorating in a pine box.
That's true. And guess what? We now sell...
The dead lose lots of weight.
We sell a weight loss program called Proacryl.
Oh, Chris. It's the new diet fad.
Hey, sometimes you just gotta, you just gotta try something new.
It's all the rage.
Are you tired of just eating healthy and working out? We've got it for you. Death. Oh, boy. Little Billy says, I didn't get Fruit Loops. Oh, I'm sorry about that, little Billy.
He's not sorry, little Billy.
Off-brand Cheerios. See, Post is the college my college wife went to. Okay. The Punisher, life got you down? Try Proacryl. No, don't eat the paint. Houdini 7, Monument Diet. 4 out of 5. Doctor recommend. They don't. All this is false.
Chris, you aided and abetted this entire line of thinking, I want to have you know.
You tired of...
See? He's doing it still, Chad.
Are you tired? I love those commercials. Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Yeah.
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 I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah.
That's from Dumb and Dumber. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, Harry. Okay, here we go. Anakin Skyhumper. To be fair, you know who says that? Jordan. Jordan says to be fair a lot.
That comes right after we bagged on him for something he totally deserved. Like this morning when I bagged on him for having two Ventis from Starbucks.
To be fair.
He's like, to be fair.
Anakin
one of them
Skyhumper.
is tea.
It says, I did just send one of my buddies who was in Phoenix down to y'all's store and he grabbed some tasty titanium white.
Awesome.
Based on my recommendation, it's the tastiest. It is not the tastiest.
Well, thank you.
It's the best white in the world, but we also appreciate that.
Yep. Thank you.
Check out Jenna screaming at her phone right now. She might be.
Jen is not watching the stream, I don't believe.
Not
Jen is getting a tattoo.
Oh. Well, we're going to come back to that.
Jen and some of her friends are going to get tattoos today.
Here's a good question.
And since I said I was never going to tattoo her, she's having somebody else tattoo her.
Oh.
I feel a little...
Oh.
I feel a little betrayed.
But you did say no.
This is where I get to do that, though, Chris. This is where I get to go. It's fine. It's fine that you went and got a tattoo from somebody else. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay.
No.
It's okay. I get it. I understand. I totally understand.
I've never used that strategy ever in my life.
I am totally using it tonight. Jen's not going to know what hit her. Oh, no, it's fine.
Jason,
She's going to show me the tattoo, and I'll be like, oh, that's great, honey.
I'm going to have you read this question, Jason. It's a long one.
It's great, honey. I'm glad that you enjoy your new tattoo.
Ping this.
That you had somebody else do. That's fine. Totally fine. Sorry, I'm warming up, chat.
Hey, no, it's okay. Here is a question, Jason.
Uh-huh.
Read this one.
What's the question? I'm sure this has been asked a bunch, but when painting, is thinning Proacryl necessary? Typically, I paint with water already soaked into the brush and control the amount of water that way. I used to use Citadel paints, and adding water or wet palette was ingrained into my brain. Any tips for Proacryl? Every single video y'all post on Instagram shows the paint hella wet and flows insanely smooth, but I don't get that effect unless the brush I use is a size 1 or 2. So the rule of thumb for Proacryl is that we make better paint. All right, here's the marketing part. We make better paint, period. Right? So when we say best paint, period, we're not lying. We make paint that is formulated specifically for painting on 3-dimensional surfaces with high detail. The other guys make house paint and put it in small bottles. Okay? So it starts thicker because that's the way you put a ton of pigment in a paint that needs it to be opaque and all that. It's just the easy industry method is to make a thick suspension because the pigment sits in it. You can put a lot of pigment in it. It's cheap, right? And that gives you your outcome that you're looking for. The problem with thick paint for fine detail is... Somebody? Anyone? Right? The thicker the paint, the more it will clog the detail or be harder to move around the surface to get to look the way you want when controlling it around fine detail. So we thin those paints, even to the point where we have a competitor that calls their paints the process that, GW used to say, which is to put 2 thin coats on a model. If our belief when we started this and decided we wanted to make a paint was that you can make a paint that just works and you don't have to tell people to thin it out to get it to work. Because if I'm selling you a product that you have to dilute to make it work, it ought to be like a highly concentrated soap. You ought to get more out of it then. And that's not the case with thick paints. And so we made a paint that is thinner viscosity, straight out of the bottle, but holds more pigment than our competitors. So you do not have to do anything other than put it on your palette and paint with it, right? It's one of the reasons why people have a hard time with Proacryl on a wet palette, because they've decided they need a wet palette because of the other paints in our industry that are too thick to use on the model need to be thinned to be able to be used, right, properly. Ours doesn't, right? The only time you really need to thin Proacryl is if you want to lower its opacity. You don't have to thin for use like our competitors. You only have to thin for opacity so that you can see through it, so that you can filter with it, so that you can airbrush with it, things like that for specific needs. But right out of the bottle is how Proacryl wants to be used. So when you see us, like switch over to the palette, Chris. When you see us, everything that I'm doing is off of a piece of palette paper, right? Or a piece of glass. Jordan uses a wet palette, right? So you can definitely use a wet palette. But when you're using the paint, it's really just the dampness on your brush that you need. And like you said, or like I hear in the question that was asked, is that if all you're using is the dampness on your brush, you can do that. I have a whole video on YouTube about how I only paint using the wet on the brush. And you either have it nearly dry for normal painting, or you leave a lot of water on it if you want to glaze or filter with the paint, because you'll be diluting the opacity as you do so. And then the biggest component of that is something that I go into, which is my thumb palette. So the more dilution you have, so if I come over here and grab a lot of this pale yellow, right, which is a super light color anyway, right? So if I wanted to glaze with this, pop in, right? If I want to glaze with that color, super bright, all I have is a lot of water on a number 6 brush, right? Is all I've diluted it with. And I have to get rid of most of that material in order for it to work on the model. A lot of people make the mistake of taking what they dip their brush into immediately to the model and trying to paint with it. And you get so much liquid on the model because not only do you have the amount of paint you picked up, you have all the water or medium you diluted it with. Now you have so much material that it forms blobs and bubbles on the model that you have to push around, displaces the pigment incorrectly. But now if I do this, if I just glaze like that, now I can come over here and I can use that and I get a nice filter buildup that just gives me a lighter color where I need it, very controllable, very smooth. I don't get any texturing, right? But it still will brighten up the area I want it to brighten up. Right? So it's a combo of the dampness on your brush that gives you the consistency of paint you want, and then the control of material on the brush that allows you to have the right amount that you go put on the model so that you don't get pooling and don't push the pigment around in weird ways, right? Because all of our work has all got like real fine details where the paint can like hide in the crevices and build up and give you too much pigment where you don't want it, act like a wash when you don't want it to act like a wash, things like that. So that's what controlling here is. So the right dampness of the brush combined with the right amount of material on the brush as you touch the model is the key to painting success, period. No matter what technique you're trying to use, no matter how you like to blend, no matter if you glaze or not, doesn't matter. That is the key to painting successfully. And it really is just because we build paint to do exactly what we do, which is paint fine details. And we don't skimp on the price of material that we use, so we're able to suspend more pigment in a lighter weight suspension, I call it. So it's just thinner. We spare no expense to give you the tool that works. That's the goal with Proacryl.
One of these days, Jason and I are going to sit down and make a big video on all of that. Essentially,
one of the biggest questions we get asked, and it's tough for us. A lot of people say, "How come you don't just advertise it that way?" And I'm like, "Well, we don't like negative advertising. We don't like to say things about our competition, in order to lift ourselves up. But at some point in time, when you start saying like what separates your product from the competitor products that I've used,
which is what we get all the time,
and it's more of, hey, when I use other paint brand X, it doesn't do this thing that your paint does. And I'm like, yeah, because we're not the same paint. Mm-hmm. You know, and people get frustrated with that answer because they're like, well, but I'm trying to paint the same model, right? I want to paint this tank and I want to use your paint, and your paint doesn't act like the paint that I've used in the past. What do I need to do? And for me to say, hey, you kind of have to rethink the way you paint, because you've been painting with a product that asked you to do things that were unnecessary. Thinning your paint is not something you should have to do. You do not thin your house paint to put it on your house. They give you the right product for the right solution, and you put the paint from the bucket into the pan, onto the roller, onto the wall. No dilution, no tricks, no waste of time, no extra effort. Right product, right solution. We deliver the right product, right solution to you for models, which is not the same as house paint. And other people make house paint, and you have to thin it to make it work for the solution that you're trying to provide. That's the only way I can put it. And so with that comes a relearning of how paint is going to work when it's the right consistency. It means that you don't have to thin it. And if you do thin it, then you're going to wind up with a lower opacity. You're going to wind up with that chalkiness that some people will say when they're trying to glaze with bright colors. Things like that. So it's a bigger story than you can put into like a FAQ.
Yeah.
It really needs to be shown, which is why we do the stream. That's why we invest so much in the stream.
Yeah.
That and because I like spending time with Chris so much.
Well, I don't think so, but I'll take it.
What do you mean you don't think so?
No, I know so.
Chris, you're my hero.
Hey, thanks, Jason. Hey, Chad, I'm here for you. I'm here for these kinds of questions.
So he says, Chad.
I'm here for the questions that you all are asking, because I ask the same questions. So that's why I always encourage you guys to ask questions. Because that's what I also will clip into these advanced clips, is what I'm starting to call them, right? But, these are things that people ask,
They're important. Because number one, when you buy a product, you want the product to work.
Yep.
And if you're
used
to painting, and unfortunately in our industry, there's very little new. There's just a lot of repeated stuff. And, there was if people that have been here on stream long enough will remember, right? Mo, you remember, were you here when I said I'd never make a paint line, Mo?
And
raise your hand if you were here in chat years and years ago. This is about 8 years ago when I said that I'd never make a paint line. Anybody remember that time? Yep. Mo, remember? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Right? I said this, chat. I said, there's no reason for me to make a paint line because at the time I was like, you know what? Everybody's already doing it until I can find a way to do it differently. And I stand by this to this day. We only make the products we use that I feel actually add something to the market that aren't just also ran products. There's no reason to release the same thing, stick another brand name on it, and flood the market with it. All right. In my opinion, I want to make things that are unique and new. And so when we had the opportunity to really reach out, and I'd been doing it, and it was right in front of my face, and my own kind of, I don't want to say ignorance, but my ego wouldn't let me recognize that with the white that we made, we had already done something special. Right? When we made special white is what we called it. It was really just a thing where it's my own fault that I was like, nah, it's not that big of a deal. Anybody could do this. But when you looked at it and it was like, well, but nobody does. And so we have a white that works better than everybody else's white. Could we do this with other colors? And that's what led us to the whole Proacryl formula, was being able to say, yes, we have a belief that there is a better way to paint that means that it's easier, which makes it more accessible to new people into the hobby, people that want to try it who aren't artists and who don't want to sit around messing around on a wet palette and have every paint in your arsenal work differently. We wanted a consistency amongst colors that really made people feel at home with the paint line so that they felt comfortable picking up the brush and painting. And that's what we've done. We've got a very consistent color line that we're very proud of. But it does mean you have to paint a little differently. Think a little bit differently. Water and a brush in our paint is all you need. The paintbrush has to be damp enough because of the small detail you're doing. Whereas a house paint brush, you're smacking it against the wall and putting a lot of pressure on it, so you're going to get paint out of it just by brute force. We're doing very delicate touches, so the brush has to be damp to allow the paint to flow on and off of those bristles. Load the paint and then unload the paint in a reasonable amount so it's controllable. Yeah. So you need a little dampness on the brush. You can't just pick up a dry brush like you would with a house paint brush. Like your house paint brush, you don't want damp. You kind of want to smack it till it's dry. Bob Ross used to say, beat the devil out of it. He would beat his brush until it was dry, and then he'd paint with a dry brush, because you're dealing with oils where the wetness and the
you don't want
usability is in the paint. You don't want to add any dilution to it. With us, you just want a paint that flows very well, which is what we give you. You only need the dampness on the brush to make sure that it doesn't get that tackiness that a dry brush will give you. Pretty easy.
This is kind of a going off of this. You can answer this for me, Jason. If you had to sum up the difference of our paint, obviously you just did that, but in a couple sentences, what is the main difference between our paint and the other paint? Just because
there's two major differences. First is that we start with the absolute best high quality pigments that you can find. We make fine art acrylics in a liquid form. That's kind of the brainchild behind this, is why do fine art acrylics work so well at what they do for canvas painters? But in order to get them to work for us, you have to do so much to them, because that's how I made our special white. It was a fine art acrylic, right, with additional pigment and mediums to get to where it flows well, mainly through the airbrush is where the big problem for white is, but also in glazing. And so we start there. So that's the first thing that sets us apart, right? There are other companies out there that do it. Chimera has the same philosophy as ours, almost to a fault, because their colors lack opacity, right? So we're able to deliver what we need from a fine art acrylic, but also deliver opacity without sacrificing vibrancy. Generally, when you add opacity, you are desaturating the paint by adding whites or blacks or grays to it to make it opaque, and so you lose some vibrancy. So we have an ability to make very vibrant colors that stay vibrant on the model, give you the opacity you want, and are still a very, very high end, the highest end. I mean, there is no higher end pigment than what we use. Then number two. Right. Number two is that you, like I said, you are starting with a lower viscosity liquid that flows better because of that. Right. It's thinner. And I hate that term thinner because we think you can see through it. That's not what I mean. Thinner viscosity, meaning it flows better. The lower the viscosity, the more like water it becomes. Right. And so you have a lower viscosity on the paint, which makes it flow better over the surface of the model, but you retain the opacity and the pigment load of a heavier, thicker paint. That's the key. That's the main ingredient that people can't reproduce, right? That's the secret sauce, if it were, in Proacryl, is a lightweight formula that holds more pigment than our competitors, that still gives you opacity and vibrancy. It's the right combo, right? It's like kind of all the magic. It is, somebody mentioned earlier, it's the alien that sold us the formula. Yeah. It was delivered from outer space. Maurice, what's going on?
Maurice has been asking all these questions. So.
18 colors at Adepticon.
Yep. 18. Cool.
That answer what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Kind of give you what you want?
Yeah. It is a question we get, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's also, as I listen to, it's like, it's just good. It's good info to remind people. Especially when you want to use the tool correctly, right? But ours helps you along the way, which is awesome. Have you ever calculated, Voldemort has a question, have you ever calculated how much coverage you can make with one paint of yours? Calculated?
A lot.
You're talking about one whole bottle? That question?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Have you ever calculated how much coverage you can make with one paint of yours? Yes.
It's funny because, like when you go with like house paints, you're talking in terms of like how many square foot per gallon your coverage is.
Yeah, yep.
Like that's tough for us to understand because of the fact that the way we paint is in layers, not with Proacryl, not because you have to, but because that's just the technique that works when painting models, is that you're layering it up. So whereas a house paint, everybody's fighting in the house paint world for one coat opacity, like cover your wallpaper with one coat of our color and do X amount of square footage. It's a different mentality for us. It's like I'm less concerned, although obviously we give you more volume per bottle. And with the same amount of opacity as competitors means you're going to get more coverage. So you're going to get, 25 to 30% more coverage than anybody else on the market. What that amount is, I don't know even how to figure that out.
Yeah.
I could airbrush models and see how many models of a particular volume of resin or plastic I could do, but I don't know that math translates to anybody's brain in a reasonable sense.
That's a tough one.
It's harder than saying 12 square feet of models. What does that mean? I don't know. Paint 2 armies.
Some enthusiasts.
What does that mean? If you're painting gargants,
yeah. how many
gargants does it paint versus Skaven?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking of an image that would be cool, is to show how much we get out of our bottles. Actually,
a ton.
We do.
We have people that paint quite a few models that still have like the original 17 mil bottles.
Yeah, and still
when our paint first came out, it was not in the big bottle. And I still have people that bring bottles of paint, or in customer service will say, "Hey, I've got this bottle of paint and it's starting to dry up. Can you help me?" And they show me a bottle that's 8 years old.
I can help you, but
7 years old, and I'm like, "Well, that's pretty good, man."
If you got one of our bottles from 7 years ago and you're still painting with it, I don't know what else you want.
Especially if you paint a lot.
That is value. That's value. Thumb palette enthusiast. Jay, you have a lot to answer for. Not only have you reminded me that WOT exists, and now I'm painting that, I also can't stop blending while painting, and I'm frustrated that my John Blanche Army painter paints have to be thin so much for blending. So I ended up buying a bunch of PA paints so I can test them out on Anthony L. Tigre bust.
Oh, you got it. Nice.
Also your fault. I'm buying it. I guess PA sales pitch worked. Also, thank you for the streams you do. IMO, it's the best. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And that's funny because I know your quote in there about Watt, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy, right? It's like I was stayed away from it for over 8 years, and now I'm back and in it harder than ever, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not harder than ever. I'm not streaming it as a streamer and doing that competitively and for a living, so to speak. Obviously, I did a lot more gaming than I do now. Can you punch us in one level?
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's awesome. Right?
Yeah.
I hope you're finding that layering and blending is a lot easier, right? It's our no fuss, no mess approach to painting is that you should just be able to put paint on the model, get it done. Not have to worry so much about all the nonsense.
That's what we do this for, chat. That's why we're here. We value it and we see the value. That's why we're always trying to make it better. So if we appreciate that. All right, I'm going to have going back to some of these questions here. Here we go. Ooh. Brolig, 50 months. I was just about to say, what is that? 50 months. That's a long time. Thank you for that sub.
Thank you.
Mine aren't 7 years, but I have 4-year-old bottles still going strong. Nice.
Yeah, the seal really makes a difference, and we were pretty adamant about that early on, is figuring out a way to actually have a bottle that seals, which is another reason why we didn't go with the dropper top, because the droppers don't seal. And I'm glad we stuck to the guns. I fought for a while in the very beginning, the early stages, to not have this bottle. And a lot of it was because we were already doing so much that was going to be unrecognizable to painters, that I didn't want to add in
another layer
of complexity or another layer of difference, right? Because the paint itself was what I was focused on. The delivery mechanism in the bottle was less of a concern. I'd been using droppers and whatever for years and years. But then it was posed to me that, but how many of your, and it was, we did this live on stream one day. This is funny. This is years ago. I'm just remembering this. Somebody asked us why we chose these these mustard style lids. Right?
Yeah. Sorry.
And you know, it had to be told to me, but once the light went off, I was like, oh. I went and opened all of my collection of dropper lids, and out of them, about 30% of them had such an amount of paint buildup in the inside of the dropper cap that you would screw that back down, and because you were trying to seal your bottle, which it never would, what happens with fluid dynamics is that whenever you squeeze, you turn a bottle upside down and you squeeze it, liquid comes out. When you then let go, air goes back in. Well, air is going to be lighter than the liquid that's still in the nozzle. So the air moves past the liquid into the bottle. And then when you turn it back this way, the residual liquid from the nozzle wants to drain back into the bottle. But now the space that it used to take up is filled with the air that came back in. And so there's a big air bubble in the bottle, and the fluid can't go past the air because it can't compress. It doesn't have enough weight to compress the air. So it sits on top, and eventually the air, now that the bottle's back up, the air wants to rise up out of the top. So it pushes all that fluid up out of the nozzle hole. And where does it go? It goes into the cap, because the cap doesn't seal on the standard dropper bottle. So the air can escape out through the threads, but the liquid fills that little nipple at the top of the dropper, right? You know how all the dropper bottles have like a little nipple shape at the top? Well, so the fluid goes in there. Go look at some of your droppers. You probably have some, depending on the age and how much you use them. You'll open it up and you'll look inside the dropper cap, and there'll be paint in there, and you'll be like, how in the world did paint get in there? Because there's not a way for paint to get in there. I mean, maybe if you shook it and the cap was loose, maybe a little bit could get in there, but typically not a way to do that. And what would happen is that then you screw that down and it cracks the nozzle. How many times have you had a dropper bottle where the nozzle split because now there's too much dried paint clumped up in the top, and when you screw the top down, the pressure would split the nozzle, and so now you've built a point of failure into the bottle. And I was like, oh, as an engineer, as my engineering brain looks, I go, that's not good. And so these don't have that problem. We've never had a problem with that. So kind of funny. Had to use a needle to close it out. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Are your alternate lids okay as far as longevity goes? You have some of those? No, they don't seal. The dropper ones, I won't guarantee that either one of the alternate lids seal. They're really not meant to. The only one that we guarantee is this one, right? This one has, our standard lid has let me get a cleaner one here, right? So our standard lid, as you know, has got an, or if you don't know, if you haven't used our paints, has an O-ring seal. So this one stuck to the bottle lid there. It has that O-ring seal. So that O-ring seal, right, that foam seal actually hits against the edge of the bottle and extends out the sides of it too. Like if you look in there, you can see there's a ring of paint and then a clean ring of foam around the outside. So it seals. And then this, right, part has the nipple at the top. If you want to super zoom in on this, right, has the nipple at the top that when I close it, we've designed this. These are custom, right? So normally that would just be flush, but we designed it to where that nipple comes up out of the top more. So that just like a mustard top, it gets that skinning on it, but this, by pressing up, it pops it up so that you can just kind of wipe it off. So that anytime you pick up a bottle and it has a little paint on there, you can just pinch that little ring of dried paint off. And no matter how long you have this bottle and how much you use it, you will lose less paint here than you do to the inside of that dropper cap. But most people don't think of it because you don't see it. Here you see it, so people call us and say, "You're wasting so much paint with your bottles." I say, "No, you're not." You know. So yeah, it's funny. The original tops are better if you can get used to using them. Like I said, I get it. A lot of people are like, "That's new. It's unfamiliar to me. It feels wasteful. They get paint on them. It feels dirty." I've always liked it once I got used to it because it lets me see the actual color of the paint when it's cured. Because the wet paint in the bottle will never match the dried color. So I have a built-in color system on the bottle that allows you to see the paint when it's dry, and you can hold them up and say, which one of those do I want? Do I want dark warm gray or light warm gray? Right? And they're dry. That's exactly what you'll get because that's on plastic, right? So now I know. And then when I open the bottle, the only time I have to worry about this is when I'm airbrushing, right? And I just crack it open and I'll use my fingernail and I'll pick the remnants around from the top and then it's clean again. So, and then this is the amount of paint I've wasted, which is not even a drop of paint. So. The O-ring needs to be in there, yes. Yeah, you take the solid one off. I don't know that I have any brand new paints up here, maybe.
I don't think so. I took all of those.
Yeah, I don't know that I have any brand new ones, but you can see on this one, the seal was torn off.
Yeah.
So there's a paper seal that covers this up and says, sealed for your protection, right? Peel that off and leave the O-ring in the cap. If when you open it up, the O-ring may be stuck to this seal, just peel the O-ring off, shove it back in the cap, tear that seal off, and then you'll use the O-ring forever because that's what keeps it sealed and fresh. And then the only way you have a problem is if you were to leave your cap undone like that. Like you pour the paint out and set it down. Which I've done, right? I'll set it down. Pale yellow is the biggest thing. I don't know why. Probably because I use so much pale yellow in my non-metallic gold that I'll be putting drops out on the palette and drops out on the palette and drops on the palette. And eventually I just forget to screw it tight and I'll come back after the weekend and my pale yellow will be open up. I've probably been through 2 or 3 bottles of pale yellow in 6 years that I've lost because I've just left them unscrewed because I use it so much. And for some reason, only pale yellow. I think I did yellow ochre once, right? Again, just colors I use a lot. But as long as you close that down, then this actually gives you a positive seal inside there.
Nice. Pop Chicken has a question. How would your paints do in high heat or automotive exterior experiment? Paint on my truck car isn't amazing, and I was kind of debating busting out the airbrush on it. It's acrylic paint.
Yeah, I mean, understand that a water-based acrylic is never going to have the high strength for flexibility that an enamel or lacquer will have. A heavier solvent base or even an acetone is going to give you the ability, like acetone's what they use in marking paint. That's what our spray paints are done as. They're just going to be more flexible. So when people say, hey, can you paint the inside of like RC car bodies with them? And I'm like, yes, you can. And you'll get great vibrant coloring and it'll work fantastic. But if that body's going to flex and get run over and flip the car a lot or run into rocks, then it's going to be more prone to chipping. So you're definitely going to want to put a final lacquer on there to help lock it in. But if you were to I've done water-based acrylics on like motorcycle tanks. And airbrush colors, they have a very high UV resistance, so they're going to stay vibrant and colorful over a longer period of time than some other paints. You just need to make sure that you do a really, really good clear coat over the top, right? So that you're protecting the paint, because the paint will come off easier. But once you've locked it in with a clear, fantastic. You can paint your whole car with it, right?
Hey, also, Anakin Skyhumper, 5 months. Thank you so much for that sub. Appreciate it.
Game really says, at this point, the only ways I feel like I'm wasting Proacryl when I put paint on my palette that I don't have time to use, or when I regret my foolishness leaving my capo. Same thing for me. Same thing for me. I tell you, I always say it's better to put less paint out on the palette. And it's a little bit of a problem because today's YouTubers want to put so much paint out on the palette so that their camera will pick up the colors and show you what they're doing. And that, I think, ingrains people with putting too much paint on their palette. So just remember, when you're watching a video, the person is using a lot more paint than they'll ever use on the model, because they're showing you the colors. And like, I pick up a number 6 brush to show you particular things because I can deliver more paint. The camera will see it more specifically. I would never use a number 6 brush to paint like that in some cases. Same thing. Just remember that putting less out on your palette is more beneficial to you, because even if you're in a humid climate and your paint takes longer to dry, you're never going to really use that much paint unless you're doing a base coat on your model. So even though I know that I'm going to use a ton of pale yellow doing the highlights on this non-metallic gold, I multiple times will put paint out on the palette, right? Because acrylics just dry too quick. So, and a lot of people use a wet palette to try to go against that. But the problem they don't understand is if you spread your paint thin on a wet palette, it dries just the same. And then you get a chalkiness because that paint is curing on the wet palette. And when you go to mix it back in, you actually get chunks of solid that will not reconstitute to a liquid. Then you paint it and you get physical chunks in your paint. You know, and the wet palette paper can pill up and give you little beads of paper in your paint too. I just don't like wet palettes, man. It's a bad science. It's a bad technology. It just doesn't work. Not controllable.
Temecula's 92 months.
Oh, 92?
92.
What the? Telemachus. Telemachus is the father of the bad dad jokes.
And he just gave us one. Today I learned if you turn a canoe over, you can wear it as a hat because it's capsized. What? Wow. Temecula's, that was bold. We'll give it to you.
Telemachus. That was a stinker.
That one had a lot of character.
That was a stinker. I better check your pants.
Wow.
Better check your pants. That was a stinker.
Crazy.
He keeps calling you Temecula's, which makes me laugh, by the way.
I'm sorry. My dyslexic is showing.
Depends on how many bottles of paint do you think would be for a small car? Depends on the size of the small car. Exactly, sarcastic, Grandpa. How many bottles? Too many. Do not paint an entire car with Proacryl. Please don't. We had a guy in South Korea who in South Korea, they had like there was a charity walk or something like that happened. And it was on a path that had an old walkway bridge that maybe a railway went over a road or something. But the walk path went underneath this bridge, had a archway, brick, and concrete overpass for a walk path. And he painted the whole thing with Proacryl. And it was amazing. He did dig that picture up. Amazing. He did brush and airbrush with it. But it was 10 feet tall and 8 feet wide. With a man,
that's cool.
With like a large doorway size, arch opening that went under.
Proacryl.
He painted the whole face of that thing with Proacryl, and I was like, "Dude,
that's a lot of.
You're
Proacryl.
Insane." Back when I would do graffiti, if I were painting a big mural, you would go get the cheapest house paint remnants you could find to paint the base of everything, so you didn't use your spray paint to paint all that stuff.
Cool.
Nobody could afford that much spray paint. You use cheap, crappy paint to do the background. And then the spray paint to define all your details. Speaking of seals, should I have any concern about PA paints on an airplane? What with the pressure changes involved? I mean, yeah, because they're sealed, you have to understand like fluid in a sealed bottle, if pressure changes occur, whether it's barometric pressure because it gets from dry to humid. Like here in Arizona, if we have a long stretch during the monsoon season where the humidity rises, then we'll have to crack our paints if there's a paint I haven't used in a while. So when you get off of flying, if you've checked it in your luggage or if they've let you carry it on or whatever, just crack the top like that. Just take the entire top. And every now and then I've heard it like when I've flown on a long trip and you go and it'll be like, tss, not like carbonation, but it'll tss real quick. And as that pressure release happens and then just close the lid back again. Just like if you were opening up a 2-liter bottle of soda or something like that, you'd let the pressure out first so it didn't burst. Because if you just shake the paint and it's under pressure, right? And then you go like this, it'll go, you know, and it'll have a little geyser of paint that comes out. That's one of the benefits and detriments of sealed bottles.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember when Chris used a whole bottle of Noosh on a model? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Pepperidge Farm. Yes. That was for you, chat. That was for science.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
There's going to be a whole new section of our YouTube coming about the science of Proacryl, and it's going to be me doing the opposite of what Jason tells you and doing the extreme version of it, like painting.
Christopher, turn on the airbrush.
That's for. Oh man. No, it doesn't matter. I'm not in that room anymore. Who cares?
Nobody's in that room. It's our conference room. Dude. Well, eventually.
That's one of those goals of mine.
Eventually, that's the conference room someday. All right, so what
are you doing now?
I'm doing some painting, Christopher.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, a little bit of painting.
What?
I know. Crazy. And I'm thinking that I may want to do it with some transparents.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to use the transparency of the airbrush to do some blending on the gold, right? So our shadows we did with Payne's Gray. So I'm going to make a Payne's Gray transparent with transparent blue and transparent black.
One might call this airbrush blending.
Put like 3-4 drops of blue in there. Was that one thing? You know, you get this bubble of paint that comes to the top. That's what causes that dried paint. When you're in the airbrush, it's tough. I mean, you can rub it in the cup, right, if you will, but it's not going to get it all off. I just keep a napkin and just blot the top. That'll keep your caps cleaner if you're worried about that kind of stuff. I need some transparent black. And we're going to put about the same 4 drops transparent black in there. I'm going to put some glaze and wash medium, which I had a new bottle. Christopher, what'd you do with a new bottle? What?
Wait, I just gave you one.
Yeah, but why do I still have the, what? Did you steal it again?
I didn't steal your stuff. Hold. Is it not down there?
I'm not seeing it. That doesn't mean it's not right in front of my face. But no. That's the weirdest thing ever.
I literally watched you grab it.
I put this down there after I was done.
Matrix. Hold.
There would have been one on the desk is the thing, right? Because I used the new one. Well, we got a little bit here. So put a little bit in here. That's really strange. Like it's not behind. No, it's nowhere. It's nowhere, Chris. Aliens. That's really strange, dude. It's not like I walked out of here with it. Like you literally brought a brand new bottle yesterday.
I did.
What the heck, chat? Who stole my stuff? Did it fall off sometime?
Oh my god. No. Travel party over there.
No, there's nothing. Nothing solid and new in there. That's really strange, Christopher. A little bit of water. Stir it up. Very strange. I'm not losing my mind, right? It's not sitting over here right in front of me, right?
You're not.
That's why it was interesting. Normally it's Jason's losing his mind. Now it's just that there isn't anything where I need it.
That's very odd. Chat, that's very odd. It was Jabe, probably. It was Gabe.
Somebody may have come in here and gotten glaze wash medium. Gabe may have come in here and stolen it for Jesse. Because Jesse's got some stuff he's doing with the paint. That's a little too blue still. So I'm going to add another 4 or 5 drops. Was I right?
You are correct.
Uh-huh, see? Problem solving. All right, cool. Yeah, bingo. Bingo.
Fix it in post.
All right, that's better. So about 2 to 1 black to blue gives us a Payne's gray. It's not really going to be Payne's gray, but it's close enough. Close enough for government work. Want to pop a zoom in on that?
Yep.
You get a nice blue, black out of that. That's a great color. That'll work fantastic. I don't know why I resort to that voice.
What is that voice?
That's like the conversational Sunday.
I thought it was
like if you caught him like on a weekend where he was just having beers, he'd be like,
I thought that was your mad scientist. Because you use that when you've done something mad scientisty, like a mix-up.
Maybe. Who knows, man?
I think it's your mad scientist.
Who knows, man? All right, the number 2.
The number 2.
I'm going to take the number 2, chat.
Oh, man. At this point, why mix this wash rather than using the new Payne's Gray wash?
That's a great question, actually.
Chuck, you're hired.
Chuck, you're hired. That's a great question.
It's all right.
I am not smart man. Probably would have been better to do that.
That's okay. Should I all right, walk us through this, Jason.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, pop in real close.
Uh-huh.
Bam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the areas where I know I want more darkness, so like right up underneath this thigh plate here, and I'm just going to start pulsing in some of this blue.
Oh.
Look at that. Right? So it gives me a darker panel up in there. Do the same thing up underneath in the thigh area. Bring that over. Right, so it gives me a good coloration there. This area here, because I've glazed that yellow over the top, it's kind of, can you get any closer?
Yeah.
Right, you can see how it's just kind of powdery in there, right? It's not really good coloring. Now, though, I can kind of come in here and just build up with this Payne's Gray. And because I'm using the transparent paints, it still allows all of those color transitions to show through. But it blends them together and gets rid of the kind of powdery nature of the paint. Right? And using the number 2 and feeling comfortable working in close, like if I can get this angle right here for you. I might mess up a little bit because I'm angling it for the camera. But I'm going to get inside that little arch at the knee is my goal. To get some shadow built up in there. Look pretty good, yep. Right? Right, so get a little color there, right underneath this little spot there. Right. Already got underneath the thigh right in there, you can see. Right, so just add some neat coloring there. That up underneath here. Go ahead and do a little bit more right up in there. Get this area right here at the back of the calf.
Describe the area.
Describe the areas? What do you mean?
Why are you?
Well, see where I have my dark reflections? Like wherever you see the darker colors on here is what I'm going for.
Kind of like your gut.
Yeah. Right there where that ankle piece goes up underneath, I'm just small spritzes, man. This is not a lot of paint. Right? All up underneath this ledge of armor there. That area right on the top there, you can kind of see it. It's almost like painting with a brush. And this is just a matter of control. Brush control of a different type, right? In some areas, I'll pull back and hammer down a little bit more where I want more of this coloring, like on that thigh plate, up the side of the thigh on this side in our shadow. This shin. Sorry, I probably can't get all of these to show as I paint them.
Showing the camera.
Get that shin area. And then I'm going to bring it across the top of the thigh over here. So I'm going to pull back a little bit so I get a little bit more feathering. If you're comfortable using an airbrush, you'll know that the further away you are from the model, the more spread you'll get, right? The wider the cone is. So I'll get less intensity, but more area covered. So what I want to do is hit the right side of the shine on his thigh and blend that out. So I'll just pull back about 2 inches or so. And just kind of, again, using that pulsing that I do. And that'll darken that up. And you're not worried about covering up the highlights. We're going to go do those highlights again, which is why the highlights are done rough right now. Because I'll go in and I'll cover them up with this color, and then I'll probably do like a little bit of jade or something, maybe some magenta. I don't know. We'll play around with some colors. Right? But that gives a nice shadow that's defined there. Get the underside of this thigh over here. A little bit more intensity on the bottom side. And then again, just like I did there, pull out about 2 inches or so. And then get the cylinder of the thigh up top like that. And then same thing on the side of this leg. Since this is all in our shadow zone, so to speak, I can get the whole calf area with just a diffused coloring. And then I can get in closer, like here on the top of the calf muscle back here, make that a little bit darker. I'm getting some tip dry, so I'm not getting as much paint out. The thing when doing this, even with super thin paint, you can see my needles kind of gumming up there, right? So I'll just take my fingernails and just kind of pull that off. We're back to clean needle. Now to spray again. And I'm trying to get that calf right up in the... down to the back of the heel. That darkens up. And then again, because I don't know how good my paint was flowing before, I'm going to... Oh, there we go. Now I'm seeing it. And you'll see that take hold on that entire side of the leg. And I'm just using the angle of the model to keep my paint in the right place so I don't have to mask off. So if I just spray at it like this, it can't hit the other side of the leg, right? So I'm not moving it around much. We've got this side just in the darkest areas, but I'm not filtering over the top because there'll be a lot more shine here. I filtered that inside leg over there. We'll do a little bit more on the back of that calf. If you do this right, it doesn't really upset any of your other colors. You're working pretty close in, so I shouldn't be getting too much on my red or any of that. But if you do, you might have to go back and paint. That's why, again, it's good if you plan on doing this type of a technique that you're not spending a whole lot of time finishing the other areas of the model. Just get a little bit of color on them. I'm going to get the area of the belt where it goes into the shadow here. Like that. And see how it immediately blends all my coloring. That highlight on the bottom of the belt there looks intentional now. Even though it was a bright streak, it's just that transparent paint faded it into the shadow now. At the top of this little area in there a little bit more. Want to get underneath the breastplate. So that shadow area that I have, that dark reflection underneath the right pec. And then over here on the left, same thing. And then just a slight filter like we did on the leg, just on this side. And kind of get the abs from this direction too, if I can. I got to get in real close on this one here. Like so. Yeah, as a filter in the middle to late layers to help you if you're not great at blending or if you want to work fast. This is what a lot of the famous Spanish painters do, that they cut out of their steps that they won't show you. This is kind of the magic behind the scenes, is you'll see them do kind of very rough, sketchy painting. And then what they'll do is they'll get the airbrush out and add these other colors that are, you know, complementary colors and stuff, like here, the underside of the arm in there on that area there. I want to be careful here not to get too much on the feathers because I'm highly invested in the wings already. I don't want to mess those up, right? But now I've got that nice coloring on the underside of the arm. That works really well. Then out here, I can draw back just a hair and lightly blend that out onto the upper part where I had that highlight on the forearm there, right? Just a little bit of a hazing. And now that's smoothed that out quite a bit. It's not perfect, but a lot better. Because, you know, you look at this, and this is really rough painting. Look at that forearm, right? The glazes and stuff don't really blend 100%. And so I come in here and get the underside of the arm, heavy, darker in the shadows. That starts blending that yellow. And then as I come across, less paint, further away, then get in close and a little bit heavier spray. I think my nozzle's starting to clog. Anytime you're seeing that it's not putting paint out, don't pull the trigger back further. You will not be pleased with your results. Yeah, and really it's just a matter of getting some confidence with the airbrush, right? Yeah. So here, just getting in real close. There we go, much better. Oh, yeah. And watch that blend to the bottom of the arm there just kind of happen naturally. Right? And then as I come around this way, pulling back and just a little bit less paint, and now it kind of blends that all the way up and across. So we're setting ourselves up for a much better overall look this way. Yeah. And the hassle here is making sure you don't overdo it, right?
Yeah, I would overdo it.
Yeah. I want to get some up in that shoulder area, right? In between his hair and the shoulder plate.
And remind him what size needle you're using.
0.2. 0.2 needle. On the gorget. Maybe a little bit on the side where the hair. And the armor overlap there. Sorry, I'm way off screen on some of these. Right. Right here where the shadow of the sword and everything kind of hit this side of the breastplate. Right. And we're just smoothing as we go. So again, I've got a dark reflection right here on this under part of the shoulder plate. I'm going to get in tight. Right there. Right there. Yep. And then as I get over here, I want that dark reflection to be a little bit more intense. You get your brush out, you start fixing it, right? Right, so a little bit under that gem right there for that dark reflection. And then just follow that area right across. So that dark reflection goes right across the armor there. Right? And then let's match it back here where we have, you see that darkness back here. Same thing. Find that line of darkness there. And now we have that bluish reflection that goes all the way across. Now I've also defined one that goes right or across here, so I'm going to do a little bit of that too. So a little bit darker on the bottom side of the arm here. Giving me a really cool kind of greenish look to the armor. But that blue still pops through as it goes over the yellow. Pretty happy with that. A little bit on this hand. Rotating the model around to find the right angle is always the hardest part. I probably want to get the back side of this hand here as it goes down to touch the sphere. Yeah. And then same thing on this arm. And because I'm spraying now right at my red, I'm going to find a way to sneak my thumb up in there. So that'll, any overspray will get on my thumb, because I'm going to do that shadow line that goes right along the forearm there. So I'm really just spraying my thumb here and letting the overspray get up on the arm. Like so. All right, so just along the arm there. And we've done all this, looking good. A little bit of feathering along there. Come back in there, probably get this back area that I completely forgot about. Back over to this shoulder plate over here. Because this entire side is kind of over in the shadow side of the model, then we'll do a little bit more of the feathering over that entire shoulder plate. Right? So that we get that glare of light from this side, falls into shadow, and then less reflection because of that. And then keep all this. And I'm pretty happy with that. Put my finger there so I don't get the wings. I'm going to get the inside of the halo. So yeah, that's good enough for government work.
Little airbrush blending for you, chat. I was recording that bit. Very nice.
Happy with that. That looks good. We'll clean that out. What time we got? 3:30. Got plenty of time.
3:40.
We'll do 3:37, dude.
3:57?
I err on the side of having chat have more happiness.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, no, none of that. I can't show you cleaning your airbrush because we'll get banned from YouTube. I'm kidding. Hey! Valhalla Painting, 21 Raiders.
Welcome, Raiders.
Thank you for that raid. Sorry, yeah, I can't show this part of the cleaning because
Put it on.
What are you
talking
we've been
about?
deemed.
YouTube doesn't.
Are you all ready for this? It's the Sarlacc pit. Ugh. Ah!
It is kind of brutal. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, speaking of raiders, thank you Valhalla Painting for that raid. You guys came in the nick of time. We just did a little airbrush blending.
Gonna do some more.
We're gonna do some more, hopefully.
Next one is with a yellow.
Wow.
We're gonna take some bright yellow ochre and filter it onto the model to bring my yellows back. I might do. I don't know. I'm really happy with the way that added color in there.
I
don't know that I need a whole lot of other color right this minute. Maybe
like doing a yellow, you said?
Maybe some orange.
Ooh.
I'm feeling a little bit of orange transparent by itself. But yeah, let's do a little bit of orange transparent. Just playing. Which seems stupid because, you know, we've spent so much time on the model. It's like, okay, yeah, let's screw it all up. Nah. Have faith.
Have faith.
Have faith. Can't be that bad, can it? What's the worst that could happen?
What's the worst that could happen? I could think of 1,000 things. I don't know. The worst thing that could happen is that you accidentally fall into that thing in front of you and you perish.
I have peeled this out and worn it as a hat before, so you don't scare me, man.
You don't scare me? I'm not trying to scare you.
You don't scare me, bro.
I'm just trying to make sure you
I
stay
know no
alive.
fear. We peeled it out and it came out in one piece.
Ugh.
And we set it over here.
Ugh.
It was on top of the Wi-Fi router for a long time. Or the Wi-Fi extender.
That's a great spot for it.
It was over here on top of the Wi-Fi extender, which is why we got such great reception.
That's probably why we did.
The Wi-Fi was in here solely for the iPad.
Oh
that was it. It's the only thing that needed it.
The Aaron's asking, how often do you take part the airbrush to clean the nozzle? I've been doing it every night with my hardened Steenbeck Evolution.
Good practice. We don't ever do it until I pick up the airbrush on stream to paint and it doesn't work. And then I show you, oh, look, chat, a great way to show you how to clean an airbrush. And then we do a video. Yeah, it's honestly, that's the truth, unfortunately. I don't take it apart enough a lot of the time. I rinse like you see me doing now. I run water through it until I get no color. And then we do the other color, and then I forget all about it. So.
You do clean it, though, every color very well.
Yes,
you
also
run
true.
Stuff
Yeah,
through,
also true.
So you don't have to.
I take the time to make sure that we get every color through, unless, of course, I'm doing like a green after a green after a green. Then I'll, sometimes I'll skimp a little bit.
Yeah.
Transparent orange.
Here's a question. A light bone color.
For Deathwing, I really like using, again, like a dark umber base. Or because Dark Angels, you could use like a dark camo green base. And then do light umber and olive flesh and then ivory. Gives a really good workup. Depends on how many colors you want to use. The dark green would just be a really cool shadow that you could do for Dark Angels that brings some green into it. That's just a stylistic thing. You don't have to. But dark umber, light umber, olive flesh, ivory as your final highlight gives you really good Deathwing coloring. Very nice.
So tell us, describe us what you're doing here.
Oh, that much orange and that much glaze and wash medium. Maybe that much glaze and wash medium.
And remind some of the Raiders what you're doing right now.
I'm taking transparent orange and making it more transparent. A little bit of water. Basically creating a transparent orange wash that I can spray as a filter over this model. Even though our transparent colors are transparent right out of the bottle, they will turn the model that color. They are super vibrant single pigment paint. So that would, if I just sprayed it right out of the bottle, Sanguineous would be orange Guineus. Orange Guineus. Sanguineous. You know you love it. Test my opacity. That looks really good. That's going to give me some good warmth, but you can see as it is very, very thin. It's just going to allow me to do what we call a filter. If you're not familiar with that term, it's what glazing and washes are filters. They allow you to put one color over another, and you control via the opacity of the color, the intensity of that color you're going to see on top, right? And in this case, we don't want a lot of orange. We just want the orange to kind of give us a light dusting. So you can see I can filter orange over the tooth on my snake, and it just is going to give it kind of a warm halo of color. So that's what we're doing here. This I'm going to do in the midtones. So basically right out of where I just did the Payne's Gray, right? Or the blue and black mixed together, if you want to pop in really close. Right? Let's look at his shoulder, right? So my midtone that I would say on the shoulder is the part that comes right up above, right? Where that darkness is. I'm going to get in here real close and just kind of warm that area up. Right? Right here on the side of the breastplate before that shine spot. I'll warm that area up. Right here on this part of the abdomen and on these two abs, give it a little warmth. Same thing right over here on this line on the thigh, right above where we did the darkness, like right in here, right above that shine line. And I'll cover the shine line too, because I can come back out with the brush and bring that shine back into focus. I'm not worried about that. There you go. Now look at that. Again, it's helping to smooth out our blends, but it's also adding some really good coloring, right? And I can bring that right here onto the corner of this knee, that hinge point, that little spot right here on the top of there. I can go over a little bit of that darkness. And I'm going to get this area right between, I've got these two shine lines on the ankle there. I'm going to go right in between them. And then down low on the side of the foot. Again, what I'm calling mid-tone is that area right between the shadow and the highlight. So if I can continue to hit that and find that area as I go along the shape of the model. Gives me a really good shine. Brings in more of the environment. You see the warmth makes it seem like I've got more reflection from a burning world or whatever, right? But along with that Payne's Gray gives me a really neat color combo. Right? Now on this side, I don't need as much, but I will still, like down here on the ankle, mid part of the foot, maybe up top here. Still add a little bit. So it works even on the shaded sides. This orange will be, you know, still give it the feel of gold even when it's in darkness, so to speak. It's not going to have any opacity, so don't expect it to work miracles. It's not going to cover your darkness and bring orange to the forefront because it is a translucent color, highly translucent. Right. But,
hey, Gabe, thank you for your 24 months of sub. We appreciate you, Gabe.
Our Gabe?
I'm sorry. I'm just reading the teleprompter.
Oh.
We appreciate
you, Gabe.
And thank you for what you do.
Are you being forced? Coerced? What's happening over here, Chris?
Question? All joking aside, Gabe is terrible. And we don't need him. So get it out. So there you go.
That turned sour quick, dude.
No, we need Gabe. What does the teleprompter say here? Gabe's a great guy. Gabe's around. Thank you for your hard work? Question mark?
A lot of question marks in this thing, Gabe. Not real sure
Thanks,
what's happening.
Gabe. There's another clap for Gabe. Monument Gabe. Big thumbs down for Gabe in chat. I have to. There's 4 fishers in this house, so I gotta really kick up my defenses here. Also, question from Danger. With your base orange color, what's a good way to shade and highlight it for cloaks and cloth? Could I use the transparents?
You're gonna want an opaque shade, right? And so I like burnt orange, burnt sienna, burnt orange. Orange works really, really well. Believe it or not, dark camo green is a great shade for orange. Greens and oranges work really well together.
This might sound like a silly question, but can you kind of give us, and this might be the same question, but some differences between filtering and blending?
Well, blending is all about the smoothness between colors. Filtering can blend. Like what's happening right now is as I filter this color, it's blending some of my rough brush strokes because it's filling in the gaps that the brush strokes had. So it works very well to do that. But filtering is just layering a color over the top of one another so you see both of them at whatever level you need to. Because if you just use our opaque paints and you paint black first and then white over black, you get white and then black in very stark contrast. If you thin that white down and spray it over the black, you get various forms of gray that lead you to a better color scheme, right? In most cases. So blending is the method or methods we use to make the colors look like they tie together. So it's not just, paint by numbers. Every color has its little spot and they're all distinguished apart from one another.
Nice.
The blending pulls it all together, makes them look like they are fluid and natural, especially when dealing with things like shadows.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
For all those in the back. What's filtering? What's blending? Help.
Right, finding some spots where I can offset my shine, some of the warmth on the halo.
How often do you bring out the 0.2 airbrush for this sort of work? Asked Wolven. Is it only on bigger models? Question mark.
I mean, this isn't a huge model. This is still, he's Primark size, so he is bigger, right? But it's not that huge. I mean, compared to Space Marine, he's not quite double the size, I wouldn't think, 1.5 times. I would do it on a Space Marine size model if the need was there. I don't necessarily have to. So larger models where you have more space to cover with each brush stroke means that I can paint quicker if I know I have this tool at my disposal, right? I can go in and say, okay, great. On doing the big part of the model, I can just move fast, not worry about blending, worry about color placement. So I get color where it needs to be. In this case, on the non-metallic metal, I get brightness where it needs to be, darkness where it needs to be, midtones where they need to be. And then I come back and do this and smooth some of that out, which makes my brush work at the end much easier. I don't have to go back and like glaze the whole model, right? Because I'm doing a lot of that right now. Right? And that already looks a ton better. And so I really just want to make sure I get this warmth on here in all these areas where it makes sense.
A lot of good info in this one, chat.
Yeah, this is a fantastic technique as you get better and better with the airbrush, and a fantastic technique to start trying the transparents out, because they are very forgiving when you thin them way down like I showed you to. They will just let you get away with murder in terms of overspray. Like, you're not seeing a lot of overspray happen here. You're not worried about a lot of overspray in a lot of cases. It just doesn't matter, right? Super forgiving way to paint. Okay, over here, probably on the left side to us, kind of bring some warmth into the thigh, kind of right where I sprayed the Payne's Gray. This will lay right over the Payne's Gray, but then extend out of it onto our brighter yellow. So that's the whole goal here. Again, just kind of like right along this area on the calf.
This is having me rethink some of the transparents when it comes to the airbrush and just trying this kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And going back what you're saying, really thinning them. I think I am not thinning them enough, right?
Over thin them.
Yeah, I think I just need to really thin them.
Yeah, you want to get crazy with them.
Because this, yeah.
Take them down to nearly water, because now you're seeing how intense they still are, even when I thin the crap out of them.
Yeah.
I still got a lot of this orange color happening here.
Yeah, I am. Why didn't I love the transparency? I used a lot of shading and glazing. Yep. I need to rethink how I'm using them in the airbrush myself after this one.
Now, like I said, they're a great blending tool because they cover just enough to give you color and to kind of help to sink those edges from your harder brush strokes.
Yep.
Behind the scenes. And that's a great thing, right? So I've left a little bit of the pale yellow exposed here. But you can see a lot of that Payne's Gray, a lot of that orange. Thinking we're looking really, really good right now. Then we have one more step. What are we at? 354. I think we got to leave it there probably. We can talk as I clean out the airbrush. I can't get to the yellow, but the next step is to go with the bright yellow ochre, which is an opaque color, which I will thin down using the same methods. It just won't start transparent, so it's a little harder for me to use. I can't use transparent yellow, unfortunately. It's too bright of a yellow. It will bring it into feeling like fake gold. So I want to use a desaturated yellow. You can't desaturate really the transparents. I could add white transparent to it, but I'm spending so much time doing that I would spend less time making this opaque paint transparent at that point. Because if you're looking for vibrant colors like this, for environmental colors being brought onto the model, this works tremendously. If we're looking for things that are just your base coloring and it needs to be desaturated like our gold needs to be, then it becomes harder and harder for me to do that with transparents because they're so vibrant, so punchy. And that yellow would literally make him yellow, like sun yellow, and I don't want that. We got to make sure that the gold is desaturated. So I'll show you how to do the same exact thing with opaque colors tomorrow.
Nice.
But again, that was just with a 0.2 needle. I would not do that with a 0.3 except on a bigger model. The 0.2 really allows me to get close, and when I do those little bursty pulses with the brush, I just get a smallest amount of paint. It doesn't spiderweb out if you're careful, even when playing with paint that's like water. I mean, you know, you saw this. This is the paint that we're using, right? I mean, it's literally like water, right? So you're never worried about it with that 0.2, and a little bit of practice of pulsing the trigger to make sure that you're not putting too much paint out. The biggest problem most people have is that when they're pulsing with it, they'll just shoot too long, right? They'll do longer pulses. You'll be like, and you just really want to be.
It's more of that, yeah.
And you're going to have to hit the same area a couple of times as color builds up, because the first couple of times you might only get a spot of color, and then by the fifth little pulse, you've now started building up. But every time you pulse, you're probably moving the tip of the brush a little bit, which also blends it around the area. So it's its own self-healing technique to some extent.
Aaron's asking, do you all have a green color like golden acrylics green gold?
I don't know it right off the top of my head, but if we bring up a colored chip or a reference, I can tell you.
I'll check it out right now.
Or yellow green, I would think.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Bright yellow green. Our yellow green family. Dark yellow green, bright yellow green. But that's not an opaque paint. That's a highly translucent paint. that I'm looking at from the Golden, you'll look on their own swatch that they show it as being a translucent paint. So it's going to give you a lot more nuance if you put it over, like, say, a zenithal, right? Whereas with our dark yellow green, bright yellow green, you'll get that same coloration in opaque form.
Well, chat, we got to get Jason to a call today, but we appreciate you all showing up and getting some great info. I got some good clips out of this one today.
Zazen says that cleaning bin looks like Wizard's butt after a few years in prison.
A little bit.
A wizard does not go to prison, especially not his butt. That's just not how that works.
Here are some links for you, chat.
I'm glad we got to get to this point. I've been,
great.
messing around with all the sketchy brushstroke stuff that we've been doing, and my hope was to be able to bring you here quickly so that you could start to see the power of the airbrush as a non-coating tool, right? We show filtering with the airbrush quite often. If we can punch in super zoom on this guy, right? And you can see how now I've got some smoothness to that sketchiness. Now I can go in, and when I do my edge highlights, they'll kind of fall in there and pull it all back together, but I don't have to worry about glazing a whole lot, right? Everything's going to really just work. And that's all just because of the airbrush. Now we have one more or two more spots of airbrush to do. We'll do one with the bright pale yellow, and then we might, with the bright yellow ochre, and then we might do a little bit with the thin down bright pale yellow, depending on how the yellow ochre looks when we're done, because the yellow ochre will smooth out these final layers of yellow where I still have rough brush textures, and then we'll go back in with the pale yellow on the brush and re-edge highlight everything, because our edge highlights will dim down as we go through with all these colors. But it really makes for a nice way to do, especially when doing non-metallic metal on a big surface with a lot of crazy reflections and stuff like that, because it lets you get nuts with your brush early on, bring in some really stark reflections and contrast, and then smooth it all out with the airbrush and minimal brushwork at the end. Stop tempting you to get an O2 airbrush. Poor teacher. Just buy a needle replacement for your current brush. You can get a needle nozzle replacement for almost every brush out there that'll take it to a 0.2, and those are generally like 30 to 50 bucks. You get the nozzle, the needle, and the nozzle cap, right? All in a kit for most brushes. Like Harder and Steenbeck, most people will do that for you. And that way you can just switch them out. Oh, nice. Aaron, it's a great model. I'm stoked on it.
It's a cool one.
We've had it sitting around for a long time, and it's just like, I should paint that. So I came in and built it one day, and done. TK says, I just got a 0.2 airbrush for this reason. Very helpful. Yeah, a 0.2 is, when talking about the fidelity a 0.2 gives you, it allows you to do much smaller detail if you're drawing with it, actually painting with it, like on a canvas. Those painters will use like a 0.2 for very narrow lines, but a really good airbrush artist can get just as narrow with a 0.3 and working super close to their work, right? A 0.2 will obviously get you even smaller if you work the same distance from the work, but there's not as much need because it also doesn't give you as big of a spray, so its versatility is narrow band. It works at fine detail, but it doesn't do like base coating very well on larger models. So I use mostly a 0.3. The 0.2 I use for filtering, almost exclusively for filtering like this, because I can get super close to the model, get nice filters. You saw me sink some of those into like shade areas that with no overspray. Yep. That I'd have a hard time doing that with a wash, right? So once you get good and confident in your skills and you get comfortable with working with a paint that's thinned in its opacity enough, then you'll be comfortable working in close, right? Because you can get in close with a very translucent paint. And know that if it gets outside the lines a little bit, it doesn't affect the colors next to it much unless you're painting over white, right? Like if you have which is why I didn't take any of my other colors up to their final brightness, because I knew this overspray, if it got on it, would then color that brightness and I'd have to go back and rework it. But none of our colors have been, other than like the white wings, which I was careful to not get overspray on, but yeah. Does your pen syringe have that rubber pad on the trigger? Pen syringe.
And then he said the airbrush.
Oh, does your airbrush have that rubber pad on the trigger? Yeah. I turn it sideways when I do detail work because it gives me more control. I don't like it the normal way. Yeah, I turn it 90 degrees sideways. For some reason, that just works better for me. Gives me more of a concave ramp that it feels like I get instant pull. This one has a little bit more give to it for my finger sliding on it. So I've always just turned it this way. Jordan will come in here and hate it and turn it back, and then I'll get it and turn it back. So it's like fighting. But it's like that on all of our brushes. It's kind of cocked like 90 degrees to the side. So thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with us. Hope you had a wonderful Tuesday. Hope you learned something. Hope you had some fun. Hope we got to answer all of your questions. If you did ask a question that didn't get answered live on stream, make sure to tune back in tomorrow. Ask it again. Yep. Always poke and prod us. We will definitely get to you. We're not trying to ignore anybody.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much. Remember, we stream 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time here in Phoenix, Arizona, which is the same as Pacific Time right now, if you know that. And check out all the links that Chris put in chat. Check out the monumenthobbies.com store for all of our goodies, all our paintbrushes, all of our paints. We'd love to become your next hobby supplier. If you've got the need for some paints and brushes, give us a shot. I know you'll fall in love with them. Made right here in our factory in Phoenix. And then check out the FLGS link, all of our partner stores across the globe that sell our products. Make sure you support them when you can. They give you a great place to go hang out with friends, experience the hobby for the first time, and just socialize and have fun. This is not a hobby that should just always be done in your basement. Get out, live a little. And then also the YouTube channel. Remember, all of our streams go directly to the live tab over on YouTube because we simulcast to Twitch and YouTube simultaneously, so you can catch up on any of the streams you've missed. If there's a part where you're like, I know they did this crazy thing that once, you can go back and find it, as well as all of the shorts that Chris puts together and pulls out of the stream and puts up for tutorials. Lots of good stuff over on the YouTube channel, so we'd love to see you there. And last but not least, the Discord, where we have like 5,470 amazing artists, and Ghost Hunter says they're asking Chris questions when he's trying to record. Yes.
Silly Ghost Hunter questions.
Yeah.
Why is Tony Hawk Pro Skater the best video game?
But nearly 5,500, which it blows my mind. That's amazing artists over on the Discord that are always willing to share their inspiration, give you help. I don't really ever have to answer questions on the Discord because the entire chat has answered it already. While I was sleeping, our artists were helping everybody become better, and I love it. So join a great community. It's a really refreshing breath on the internet to come hang out on the Discord, get some really good advice, show off what you're working on at all levels, from beginner, first time you've ever touched a model, to somebody that's painted 1 million models. We all get something from everybody and can give you something back. So thanks for making that community great. Stick around. Chris is going to find somebody to raid, so show some love in the channel we wind up in, and we will see you back here tomorrow. I'm out, gang.